Hello and welcome back to the MLB DFS slate breakdown for Monday, May 5th. Happy Cinco de Mayo. We're going to be here breaking it down. We got a nice slate on this Monday to go over. I'm your host, Tyler Wiemann. Come join us at LineStar, $39.99 per month. Gets you access to all we do, the props, the DFS. You get it all, one low price. Now let's dive in, shall we? So, as always, we're going to start off by some perfect lineups from yesterday's main slate and then get into the winning lineups, followed lastly by talking about today's slate. We will talk about the pitchers to consider and some stacks to consider. Now, let's get over to these perfect lineups. So, the perfect lineup on DraftKings, we had Erod, we had Freddie Peralta, both went nuts. And then all one-offs, not much we can dissect there as far as how to best play it. Now, the one thing I do need to caution you is that there's always a giant difference between the winning lineup score and the perfect lineup score. And that's the reason why we are going to stack. Yes, there is more ceiling if you do all one-offs, but the amount of luck you would have to put all of those together in one lineup is just not worth trying to figure out and trying to dial it in. So we stack. We try to get the closest we can with stacking. And then the winning lineup went to Fantasy is Real, who had Peralta and Colic, which I cannot believe that Colic went that nuts. He had a good game, only 4 strikeouts, but he was only 4K and put up 20.4. So way to go. Got the sweep for the Padres. Love to see it. And then Peralta had a game versus a very good Cubs team. Then lineup-wise, we have a 4-man Baltimore stack and a 4-man KC stack. It's not very often that we get a 4-4 stack winning it on DraftKings, but hey, they did, and they won by a giant margin yesterday. So congrats to Fantasy is Real. The 20 or the 50K you just won is very, very real. Congrats to you. Now, let's get into FanDuel perfect lineup. We got Freddie P. And then all one-offs again. It was a different, kind of a weird slate where not really too many guys went nuts. And then the winning lineup went to Jim the Augutire, the Gold Tiger, maybe. AU being gold. Anyways, so Jim won 10K. He had Jacob deGrom, one of the chalky pitchers, almost 20% owned. That's fine. And then he had a 4-4 stack with Baltimore KC. 4-4 is much more prevalent in FanDuel just due to the fact that you can't do a 5-man stack. So congrats to Jim, the Gold Tiger. You won your 10K. Now let's dig into these, to the slate. See what we can get. We got 8 games on both sites. Now, there is a little bit of interesting stuff going on here because on FanDuel, the slate starts at 3:40 Pacific time, ends at 4:45. It is eight games. On DraftKings, starts at 4:05 with this Padre Yankees game. Go Padres. And it ends at 7:05. So we have the two night games on DraftKings that we do not have on FanDuel. I don't understand why FanDuel would do this. Like, baseball isn't the sport that you need to cut out the late games. That is definitely NBA, and you pretty much didn't do it all season. Weird situation with the 2 mix-ups here, but let's dive into this slate. We'll start on DraftKings, do our best to cover all the games. Highest owned, we got Matt Boyd at 8,300, 29% owned. We got a projection of 15.29. The consensus is all the way up at 17 for him. So consensus really likes him. He's in a tough spot versus the Giants, though. 4.5-star alert score. Wrigley Field, great for pitchers when the wind is blowing in. The wind is blowing in today. Giants striking out almost 24%. And Boyd's been very good. 3.36 FIP over his last 20 with 26% K rate. So nice little upside here. Over the last 5, 4.08 FIP and a 20% K rate. So the K rate has been much lower. However, the last 5, Dodgers twice, Padres twice, and Pittsburgh. Padres don't strike out much. Dodgers are lower on the strikeouts than most teams. Pittsburgh strikes out a bit, but hey, he had 6 Ks versus Pittsburgh. So what do I think about this spot here? I think it's an okay spot. I think 8,300 is a fair price. I think the wind and the weather does favor pitching a little bit in this spot, but this Giants offense has been very, very good. The splits, however, versus lefties are in Boyd's favor, so I'm a little interested here. Not 30% owned interested, but I'm fine to go here. Nick Pivetta, 10K, 29% owned. We got, there's some weather in this Yankees game, so we really don't know how to go about it from that standpoint. It is going to rain all day in New York. The winds are blowing in. There's cool temperatures. It is more pitcher-friendly weather. However, the ball is probably going to be a little wet, so maybe they don't get as good of a grip on the ball. But all in all, my worry here is possible delay or just a PPD. We're not really sure. There is the chance that they could wait and play the game being really late. Or maybe we get some light rain they just play through. We're going to have to watch the weather as the day progresses to really know what's going on here. But just be warned, there is a decent chance for postponement. The one thing I would say is if a postponement's happening, it probably comes early because, I mean, it's just going to be an all day long rain fest. So if there's not a postponement during the day, they probably try to play, but there's still a chance for postponement just because, can't predict the weather. It's very hard to predict. All right. Pivetta, dude's been amazing this year. 3.44 FIP over the last 20, 2.48 over the last 5. 29.6% K rate over the last 20, 31.3 over the last 5. StatCast data, still a little bit scary. 47% fly balls, a decent amount of barrel balls. This Yankees team has some pop. It's not one you really want to let a barreled ball or a fly ball go in Yankee Stadium. At least the wind's blowing in, though, to help that ball stay in. I don't love Pivetta in this spot, but at this point, he is in the running for Cy Young this year. That is how good he has been. And with that, I got to at least consider him. However, I do want to first say that pitchers in this game are going to be scary to use. No clue what happens. There's delay chances. There's PPD chances. And it's going to be very hard to trust them. I'm fine with getting a little bit. But no way they end up 30% owned with the weather situation. I would expect it to be much lower. Same with Rodon. It's going to be just hard to click these names. Carlos Rodon, another one popping up. 3.96 FIP over the last 20. 3.55 over the last 5. K rate over 30%. He's in a fine spot. Padres versus lefties, 251 average, 150 ISO, but strike out 16%. So there are decent splits, but they just do not strike out, which makes it very hard to use any pitcher, especially when there is weather concerns there. Don't love the spot for Rodon. Even in perfect weather, I wouldn't love it. You add that in, and it makes it even harder for me to take him. Next, we got Cole Reagans, 10.3K, 24% owned, 2.5-star alert score. The alert score is the wildest thing to me because I don't understand why it is so low, except for the fact that 18% K rate and we got 320 WOBA versus lefties. So those are decent numbers here. However, Reagan's just been absolutely dealing. 3.21 FIP over the last 20, 2.79 over the last 5, and over the last 5, he has a 40.6% K rate, 31% over the last 20 starts. StatCast data is a bit scary. A little bit of fly balls, a lot of hard contact, not too many barrel balls. All in all, I'm absolutely fine going to Cole Ragans, and I think he's going under-owned. Splits, 236 average, 115 ISO. Yeah, they're not striking out a ton versus lefties, but hey, Ragans has huge strikeout upside. We got a 29.6 combined K rate here. I'm in on Cole Ragans, and if he is only 24% owned, which I highly doubt, then I would have a ton of him. So I'm fine, Cole. He is my favorite pitcher so far on this slate. Next, Bryce Miller, 8,100. Now we're getting into some pivots. 22% owned versus the A's. It is in the hitter-friendly Sutter Field in Sacramento. Look, Bryce Miller is a solid pitcher. Now he's averaging 27% less fantasy points away, but we got a 3.18 FIP, 3.06 FIP, mid-20% K rate. StatCast data is okay. He's allowing some fly balls, but he's missing the barrel. You know, it's not hard hit fly balls most of the time. At BVP data in Miller's favor. Splits are a little bit mixed, but I think 8,100 for the caliber of pitcher that Bryce Miller is just too cheap, and I'm fine having some Bryce. Next, Tobias Myers, 5,700. All right, I got to start this off by I'm worried about his pitch counts, but he is only 5,700. The reason I'm worried about his pitch counts, May 2nd, he pitched one inning, 11 pitches, and now he's pitching a few days later. The last start, he only went 49 pitches. Start before that, 82. So we know he can get up to 60, 80, whatever, you know. The problem is that I think that's the limit probably that he would have today. I would not expect him to go super deep into this game, but he's been a solid pitcher. 3.76 FIP over the last 20, 3.69 over the last 5, 22% K rate. StatCast data isn't the best. Splits, however, are definitely in Houston's favor. However, they're not hitting the ball that hard this season on 153 ISO. I'm mixed here. I don't mind a little Myers. I think this price point is too cheap on him, but upside is severely limited by that pitch count. So I would expect 50, 60 pitches most likely. Can he get into the 20s with that? He's going to have to pitch a real solid game. So, but want to talk about him because I do think at his price maybe warrants some play. Brady Singer, 8,800 versus Atlanta Braves. Singer's been very good this year. 3.82 FIP over the last 20, 4.3 over the last 5 for his FIP numbers, 25% K rate. StatCast data has been absolutely awful, though. Not many ground balls. Solid amount of fly balls. Solid amount of line drives. 36% hard contact. 9 barreled balls of 71 batted balls. Just not great numbers there. The splits heavily in favor of the A's. ATL, and BVP data heavily in favor of ATL. 22% combined K rate. The only thing I got to say here is that Brady Singer keeps kind of making it happen even with some of these poor numbers. Not a ton to like from pitching. If I got to go Brady Singer, I don't mind a little bit, but I do think 8,800 is too expensive for him. Luis Severino, 7,900. Fine to go a little bit of Sevy. Issue here is Seattle Mariners have been absolutely raking, especially away from Seattle. And we're in a hitter-friendly park. I don't mind some Sevy in this spot. He's been decent, just limited upside. And 7,900, is kind of pricey for a 16% K rate over the last 5. But guy's been dealing, keep limiting runs. I don't mind a little bit of him. There's just very little margin of error when your K rate is that low. Griffin Canning, 7,200. I've been talking about him all season. 2.99 FIP over the last 5. Guy's been absolutely dealing. 24% K rate. StatCast data looks fine. A little too much hard contact, but all in all, I'm fine with it. Splits, 241 versus righties, 246 ISO. So they are hitting the ball very hard versus righties, but the Average isn't quite there. 22% K rate versus righties. BVP is in Griffin Cannon's favor. 23% combined K rate. I am fine going some Griffin Cannon at 7,200. The ceiling is there. Guy has been dealing. It's a roll of the dice versus a very good team, but I'm fine. Next, Miles Mikolas, 6,200. Not very often that I'm going to say, let's talk about Miles, but 3.01 FIP over his last 5, 4.14 over his last 20. We know he can be efficient and work deep into games, and he is super, super cheap. On a slate like this where there's not a whole lot of pitching, you're going to go probably Cole Reagans and then, either Boyd, Miller, Canning, or go way down the ownership line and go Mikolas. I think it's a little interesting. This Pittsburgh Pirates offense isn't that great. He can definitely take advantage of it. Now, BVP-wise, it's in the Pirates' favor, but he has had some very solid games versus them also. He's at home. Very low K rate, but hey, he's 6,200, and you're getting a guy that can go 6-7 innings and be efficient. On a slate like this, I'm fine taking a chance on that a little bit. Blanco hasn't been great this year. He was a regression candidate coming into this year because of some of his numbers last year. But we've seen this guy have a huge upside, and at 7,300, the upside is there to at least consider. Don't love the spot, but pitching's rough today. FanDuel. High owned, Cole Reagans. He should be the highest owned on this slate, 39% owned. I would be shocked if he is not. Matt Boyd at 8,900. It's 700 less, and you're giving up a ton of ceiling and in a worse spot. Kind of hard to go there, except for the fact, we're playing a game of chance, and if Reagans goes busto, then all bets are off on who's going to be the highest producing pitcher on the slate. Sandy Alcantara, he's been rough. Hard to really go. Ben Kasparis, 40 pitches, 53. Hard to see him go, over 70. And let's see, Cleveland and Washington. Luis Ortiz, 8,800. He has been decent this season. He's up to 90, 100 pitches. K rate almost 30% so far over the last 5. Issue is the Washington Nationals are hitting the ball pretty well, and they've done well versus him in the past, but only 30 plate attempts, so very small sample size here. I'm fine with some Luis Ortiz if you want to get a little different. And Jake Irvin, 8,100, not really feeling that. So that's the early games that we didn't go over already. As far as FanDuel, I like Reagans, I like Boyd, Rodon and Pivetta, very hard to trust with the weather. Gotta know more, as the day goes on. They're in play if it looks like that game's going to be played, without any chance of the rain. Mikolas, 6,900, a little interesting. Blanco, a little interesting. And outside of that, I can't really play any of those guys. If you want to, you could do AJ Smith-Sharver. He's could go 90, but he just hasn't been great. But he is a big-time prospect, so maybe he can get it together. And that'll do it. Let's get into some stacks. Now that we're 18 minutes in, we went way more than we generally do with pitching. 107% owned, Kansas City Royals, your highest owned stack of the day. The Royals have started hitting a little bit. Shane Smith has been decent, 3.56 FIP over the last 20, 3.42 over the last 5. Bullpen behind him is terrible. I don't mind some KC, but I do think they're probably going a little higher owned than they should be. Highest projected, we got Mets versus Ryan Nelson. Ryan Nelson's been coming off the bench, go 3-4 innings, and he's been solid. Mets are good. Don't mind some Mets. Arizona versus Griffin Canning. Now I think Arizona is going to give some projection problems across the industry. The thing is that Griffin Canning is pitching extremely well. We have seen upside for him for years, just hasn't totally put it together. He just had a really bad season. But seasons before that, he's on a very short list of like a 25% K rate and below 10% walk rate. The guy has skills, and it looks like Mets have been able to harness it. I think Arizona is going to pop a little bit on projection systems. I don't love them in this spot. I think Griffin Canning, what we're seeing is real. Now, can they hit in a one-game sample size versus them? Absolutely, but I just don't love it. Now, highest value play. White Sox versus Ravens. Huge leverage. So I understand if you want some leverage play, but I don't love it. KC versus Shane Smith. We talked about it. I don't really love going Shane Smith there, but hey. They're cheap. They're starting hitting. And they're just high owned. That's the only thing. High ceiling. We got the Cubs versus Layden Roop. Layden Roop has been decent, or Rupp, however you want to say it. Cubs, however, have been just crushing the ball all season long. I don't mind a little bit of Cubs in this spot, but it is pitching weather at Wrigley and not hitting weather. Highest leverage, we got Cubs. ATL also popping up versus Brady Singer. I don't mind that whatsoever. Now let's click the teams tab. Arizona 4.9 versus Griffin Canning. KC 4.7 versus Shane Smith. Atlanta 4.6. Mets 4.6. I personally kind of prefer both those than the two higher implied run total spots. St. Louis 4.5. They keep scoring runs, keep doing it. I don't mind a little bit of them. Milwaukee versus Blanco. Blanco, very good hard hit contact. Bullpen behind him has been very good. Don't see that one really going into a shootout, but it absolutely could. Blanco's been meh so far this season. Seattle versus Sevy. The A's versus Bryce Miller. Don't love that. Houston versus Tobias Myers. The thing about this is he is allowing 45% hard contact, high average exit velocity, and the bullpen behind them has been terrible. I think Houston has some merit. And then Cincinnati versus AJ Smith-Shawver does make some interest to me. They're stealing bags. They can hit the ball hard, and Smith-Shawver has got blown up a little bit, and it's one of the better hitting weather spots on the slate. I don't mind some there. That'll do it for us today, guys. It's an interesting slate. Tough, really, to choose on either side of the ball here today. But Braves, Mets, St. Louis, some of my favorite stacks. Don't mind some Houston if you want to go super low owned. That'll do it for us today, guys. Y'all have a good one. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Peace.